What happens when the boss goes undercover, blends in with customers, and hears something no one was supposed to hear? Kellan Brooks stood outside store number 16 of his 18-location appliance chain, tugging down the brim of his cap. His beard grayer than it used to be was thicker now, and the wire rim glasses added just enough age to throw people off. No one inside would recognize him. He'd bought the company 10 years ago from a retiring friend, and this store was one of the original locations that came with the deal. But he'd never once been inside this one personally. He used to be in every store talking to people, fixing problems. But that stopped somewhere around store number 8. Now he sat through filtered reports, polished spreadsheets, and rehearsed district manager updates. But something had shifted lately. Customer service complaints were slowly rising, returns increasing, and 2 long-time employees had suddenly quit from this location. Kellan wanted answers. Real ones. He grabbed an old cane he'd borrowed from his uncle and walked with a slight limp. His clothes were basic loose jeans, a faded jacket, and a baseball cap with an out-of-state college logo. Just another older man shopping for a new fridge. Inside, the store was quiet. Cold air hummed from the vent above, and the scent of plastic and cardboard lingered. 2 employees stood behind the main counter, talking and laughing. Neither looked his way. He wandered the aisles slowly, scanning models. He wasn't in a rush. He wanted to see how long it would take someone to help him. 10 minutes passed. Nothing. Another man entered the aisle, older than Kellan, maybe in his late 70s. He wore a pressed blue shirt and walked with effort. He stopped beside a mid-range refrigerator and squinted at the specs. Kellan watched as the man reached for the display card, then sighed and looked around. "Excuse me?" the older man said gently to a passing employee, a tall guy with a name tag that read Troy. Troy barely slowed down. "Yeah, I see you. I'll be back," he said without looking the man in the eye. He didn't come back. The old man waited, glancing around, embarrassed. Finally, he turned to leave. That's when Troy returned, walking past Kellan now, heading toward the elderly man, and said something that made Kellan's chest tighten. "Don't worry about it, sir," Troy said with a grin. "If you can't figure out how to open a fridge door, you probably shouldn't be buying one." The old man froze. His face fell. Kellan did too. Troy walked away like it was nothing. Kellan stared after him, his throat dry. He wanted to say something, yell maybe, but he couldn't move. He just stood there, stunned. His hand gripped the cane tighter. The older man shook his head and quietly walked out of the aisle. Kellan finally snapped out of it and followed the man to the front. "Sir," Kellan said, keeping his voice soft, "do you need help? I can look something up for you if you want." The man gave him a kind but tired smile. "Thanks, son, but I think I'll go elsewhere." Kellan watched him leave, then turned back toward the appliances. His heart was still pounding. That's when another employee, short, black hair pulled into a tight ponytail, approached. Her name tag read Paige. "Sir, can I help you with anything?" she asked, without a hint of impatience. Kellan nodded. "Yeah, actually, I'm looking for a fridge around the 35-inch range. Quiet motor. Nothing too fancy." Her eyes lit up a little. "Got a few I can show you. Wanna follow me?" She led him without rushing, explaining the differences between models, even pointing out which ones had better warranties. She didn't know who he was. No one did. That was the point. They chatted for a few minutes, and Kellan asked more questions, some basic, some complicated. Paige answered every one, and when she wasn't sure, she looked it up. "You've got a good eye for these," Kellan said. "I used to work in installs," she told him, "for 3 years. Then they needed someone on the floor, so here I am." "You like it?" She hesitated. "I like helping people, but not everyone here cares the same way." Kellan nodded slowly. "I noticed." She seemed to study him for a second. "You look like you've worked retail before." Something like that, he answered. He thanked her and said he'd think about it. Then he wandered around the back, watching the staff. A few were working hard unloading boxes, helping customers, but others, like Troy, leaned against counters joking loudly. Later, Kellan watched Troy roll his eyes at a mother asking about a washing machine. When the woman walked away, Troy muttered, "Maybe learn how to read signs before asking dumb questions." Someone laughed. Kellan felt his jaw tighten. He needed to see more, but he already knew this. Paige was the one holding this place together. And Troy? He had no business talking to people the way he did. Kellan left without saying a word. But the next day he came back. And this time he brought a hidden mic. Kellan arrived an hour before opening. The parking lot was still half empty, and the only lights on inside the store were from the warehouse section in the back. A delivery truck idled near the side bay. He leaned against his rental sedan, watching a familiar figure unlock the front entrance from inside. Paige stepped out a moment later, carrying a clipboard and wearing a weatherproof vest that looked worn from years of early shifts. She didn't see him. She moved with quiet speed, checking the condition of the sidewalk, the signage, even the carts near the door. Every motion was deliberate. She wasn't just filling her time, she was making sure things were right before customers came in. Kellan waited until she disappeared back inside, then headed around to the rear. The delivery truck's back doors were open, and two men were unloading appliances onto wheeled lifts. A third man stood off to the side, half asleep, leaning against the wall with earbuds in. No one was supervising. One of the movers grunted as a dolly tilted too far. The corner of a dishwasher slammed into the concrete with a sharp crack. "Watch it!" the driver yelled, climbing down from the cab. "That's going back to the warehouse now, genius." The worker who dropped the unit just stared, sweat already darkening the back of his shirt. The third guy with earbuds didn't flinch. Kellan walked past them into the store through the side entrance and slipped off his jacket. This time, he wore a cheap polo and a name tag sticker that read Greg. The district HR manager had arranged for him to shadow as a new trainee, starting today. No one at the store level knew his real identity. Inside, the floor manager, a man in his 40s with thinning red hair and a clipboard permanently tucked under his arm, glanced up when Kellan entered. His name was Reese. "You the new guy?" Reese asked, not looking up from his notes. "Yes, sir." "Greg," Kellan said, keeping his posture slightly stiff, as if he'd never worked retail before. "Great. Stay out of the way until we open, then follow whoever I assign you to. Don't touch anything until told. If you're late, you're gone." "Got it. Got it." Reese walked off without another word. 10 minutes before opening, Kellan was assigned to Troy. The same Troy. He was leaning on a display shelf, sipping from a giant energy drink and trading sarcastic remarks with a younger employee wearing a hoodie under his uniform shirt. Neither paused when Kellan approached. "This is Greg," Reese said flatly. "Starting today. Show him how we do things." Troy squinted at him. "What did you do before this?" Kellan shrugged. "Warehouse. Mostly loading and repair." Troy grinned at the hoodie-wearing kid. "Another one of those." "Great." When the doors opened, the first wave of customers trickled in, a couple looking for a washer-dryer set, a contractor picking up a scheduled order, and a woman with her teenage son browsing stoves. Troy barely glanced at any of them. "You'll notice," Troy said as they walked the floor, "most people don't know what they want. They just ask dumb stuff. Best move? Point them to whatever's on sale and move on." Kellan nodded slowly, keeping his face blank. A middle-aged man approached with a product flyer. "Hey, sorry, do you know if this model's in stock?" Troy didn't even glance at the paper. "If it's not on the floor, it's not here. But online it says," "Yeah, online says a lot of things. I don't run the website. Try again next week." The customer frowned, clearly irritated, but walked away without a word. Troy turned to Kellan. See? They'll leave either way. Doesn't matter if you explain it politely or not. You just don't waste time. For the next hour, Kellan followed silently, watching Troy dodge nearly every customer request. He repeatedly told people to wait by the counter, then never returned. Once, he told a woman her warranty didn't cover a cracked display, even though Kellan knew it did. She left looking confused and upset. Paige walked by, arms full of paperwork. She stopped when she saw Kellan. "Hey Greg, right?" she asked. "Yeah. I was gonna check on you earlier. They didn't throw you in the deep end, did they?" Troy cut in. "He's fine. We're just doing the tour." Paige didn't look convinced. "Okay. Well, if you need anything, let me know. Things get inconsistent around here." She walked off, and Kellan watched her disappear behind the service desk. "Told you," Troy said under his breath. "She's too uptight. Been here too long. Thinks she runs the place." Kellan didn't answer. Later, in the back stockroom, Troy leaned against a stack of boxed microwaves, scrolling through his phone. "You'll learn," he said. "This job's about looking busy, not being busy. Keep your head down. Don't get caught up in the lifers like Paige, and you'll survive." "Is that what you're doing?" Kellan asked, pretending to adjust a stack of shelf labels. "Hell yeah. I'm not staying here forever. Just banking hours till I figure something better out." Kellan tilted his head. "What about the manager? Doesn't he care?" "Reese? Nah. As long as you clock in and don't wreck anything, he's cool. He's got his own problems." Kellan didn't press. It was clear Reese wasn't managing, he was floating. And with no structure, people like Troy did whatever they wanted. That afternoon, a woman in her 30s approached the counter, holding a receipt and a small box. "I was charged for an installation I didn't get," she said calmly. "The guy just dropped it off and left." Troy took the receipt, glanced at it, and tossed it on the counter. "Not my department. Try customer service." "I already did," she said. "They said the store has to issue the refund." Troy shrugged. "Then you'll have to wait for Reese. He's the only one who does overrides." "Is he here?" Troy sipped his drink. "Somewhere." The woman stood there, frustrated. Kellan stepped forward. "I can go find him." Troy narrowed his eyes at him, but Kellan didn't wait. He walked to the back office and knocked. Reese looked up from his desk, startled. "Customer needs a refund processed for a service that wasn't delivered," Kellan said. Reese sighed. "Tell her to fill out the form at the register. I'll do it when I finish this." She already did. She's been passed around for 20 minutes. Reese blinked. "Fine. I'll come." Kellan followed him back. The woman's face softened the moment someone finally acknowledged her properly. As Reese handled the refund, Kellan noticed Paige nearby, loading printer paper into the receipt machine. She gave him a small nod, nothing more, but it felt like a silent thanks. That night, after closing, Kellan sat in his rental car, staring at the dash. His voice recorder rested in his hand. It was full. He had heard enough. Paige was holding this store together under weight it was never designed to carry. Reese had checked out. And Troy, he wasn't just lazy. He was corrosive. The way he spoke to people, the way he dismissed customers, the way he treated the elderly man the day before, it wasn't just bad behavior. It was disqualifying. Kellan made a call to corporate HR. "Effective immediately," he said. "Terminate Troy. For cause. No severance." Documented rudeness to customers, failure to assist, and gross misconduct. The HR rep paused. "Are you sure? There'll be blowback if he pushes back." "I'll deal with that. Pull the footage. I'll send over audio. It's more than enough." "And Reese?" "Not yet. But I want a full performance review." Pull the last 6 months of customer complaints, missed targets, and employee turnover. I want numbers by tomorrow. He hung up and stared out at the darkened storefront. Tomorrow he'd show up as himself, and no one would see it coming. The next morning, Kellan arrived just before 9, this time walking through the front door in a pressed navy blazer and slacks. No hat, no cane, no disguise. The assistant store manager, a soft-spoken woman named Naomi, hesitated when she saw him. Her eyes flicked to the company badge clipped to his chest. "Mr. Brooks." "That's right," he said. "Let's keep it quiet until I've spoken to everyone I need to." "Yes, sir." "Is Reese in?" "He's in the break room. Morning meeting." Kellan nodded once and headed toward the back. The break room was small plain white walls, a fridge humming in the corner, folding chairs arranged around a plastic table. Reese sat at the head of it, sipping weak coffee from a paper cup while half listening to a younger employee talk about a missed delivery. He didn't notice Kellan at first. When he did, his face twitched once, and he stood up a little too quickly. "Mr. Brooks, didn't know you were in town. I didn't announce it." Reese cleared his throat and turned to the employees. "Let's wrap this up. We'll finish later." They filed out quickly, whispering. Kellan waited until the door shut. Then he walked to the table and sat down. He didn't bother with small talk. "I've been in your store the last 2 days," he said. "Undercover." Reese blinked. I saw almost everything I needed to. I've already made 1 termination." "Troy." Reese's shoulders dropped. "I didn't know it had gotten that far." "You should have," Kellan cut in. "That's the problem." He was chasing off customers, mocking people, lying about policies. That kind of behavior doesn't happen overnight. It festers when no one holds it accountable. Reese looked down at the table. "I've got audio, footage, but I don't need more proof. I need to know why you've let this place slide." His voice wasn't angry, but it was firm. Reese hesitated. "I've been spread thin. We've had staffing issues since November. Corporate delayed our replacement hires. I've been covering admin, scheduling, vendor calls." Kellan raised a hand. "Stop. I've read every report. I know the constraints. But what I don't understand is how someone like Paige is still holding this place together while you're nowhere near the floor." Reese looked up, caught off guard. "She's good. I won't deny that. She's exhausted, and you've left her to carry the weight without backup. That's not leadership. That's absence." He let the words sit. "I'm not here to fire you today, Reese, but you're on a very short leash starting now. I've assigned a regional support manager to this location. You'll be working side by side for the next 6 weeks. Performance tracking starts immediately. If I don't see improvement by the end of the quarter, we'll make a permanent change." Reese nodded slowly. "Understood." Kellan stood. "I'm meeting with the staff next. You don't need to join." He left the break room and walked toward the front, where the hush of morning activity had turned into low murmurs. Word was spreading. An unfamiliar man in a suit asking questions. Employees glancing over shoulders. Kellan stepped behind the service counter and faced the staff. "Everyone," he said. "My name is Kellan Brooks. I own this company." The room stilled. "I spent the last 2 days here as a customer and as a trainee. I came because I wasn't getting the truth through reports. And what I saw confirmed what I suspected: some of you are being let down by this system." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "I saw employees ignoring customers, heard people being insulted. I also saw quiet excellence people stepping up without being asked, doing the jobs of 2 or 3 others without recognition. That stops today." He looked around the room. Paige stood near the back, beside the printer. She didn't speak, but her eyes met his. "We've already removed 1 employee whose conduct was unacceptable. If anyone else thinks this company tolerates that kind of behavior, let this be your notice." It doesn't. No one moved. Even the phones stopped ringing. Now, I want to speak with some of you directly. Paige, can you come with me? She walked forward slowly, unsure. He led her to the small office near the warehouse door and closed the door behind them. She stood straight, hands clasped loosely in front of her. Was this about what I said yesterday? No, he said. It was about everything I saw. But what you said was honest. And that's what we need more of. She nodded, cautious. How long have you been here? 6 years. Why haven't you applied for management? She hesitated. I did. Twice. But both times they went with someone from outside. I stopped trying. He leaned against the desk. You've been doing management work already. You troubleshoot, you train, you de-escalate. You know the store better than anyone. I just didn't think it mattered. It does to me. She looked down, silent. I'd like to offer you the role of assistant manager. Effective immediately. Full pay bump, benefits, and a guaranteed review in 4 months for advancement to floor manager. You'll also be getting a leadership mentor from our regional team. She blinked. I don't even know what to say. Say yes. She let out a short breath. Yes. Good. Now I need something else from you. I want a list. A real one. Who's doing the work? Who's not? Don't worry about politics. Don't sugarcoat it. I'll protect you. She nodded. I can do that. Start today. And tell Naomi I want her coordinating scheduling with you from now on. No more silent suffering. He walked her back out to the floor. After that, he met with 3 other employees one-on-one. A warehouse guy named Felix who'd been covering extra shifts without pay when short-staffed. A cashier, Amanda, who had taken it upon herself to translate for non-English-speaking customers when no one else could. And a junior tech named Darren who'd created an unofficial guide to the outdated inventory system and had been quietly training new hires himself. Each of them got something that day. Felix received a retroactive bonus for the extra hours and a formal title bump to shift lead. Amanda was offered a paid language certification program. Darren's guide was turned into official onboarding material, and he was assigned to help corporate revise the training curriculum. By late afternoon, the mood had shifted. Not dramatically, this wasn't a movie, but the tension had thinned. People stood a little straighter. Conversations were quieter, more focused. Reese stayed out of the way. Before leaving, Kellan pulled Paige aside again. I'll be back in 2 weeks. Unannounced. Same setup. She nodded. Understood. You've earned this, Paige. Don't let anyone make you question it again. She looked at him for a long moment before replying. I won't. He left the store without fanfare. Just another man in a blazer walking through automatic doors. Outside, the sun was already dipping behind the strip mall roofs. Kellan paused beside his car and looked back at the store. It wasn't fixed. Not yet. But for the first time in a while, it was moving in the right direction. 2 weeks later, Kellan returned to the store in the late afternoon, unannounced, just as he said he would. This time, he walked in through the side entrance again, but not in disguise. He didn't wear a suit either. Just a plain gray sweater, dark jeans, and a company lanyard around his neck. He moved quietly through the rear hallway, scanning. The warehouse was louder than before, but not chaotic. Voices were clear, purposeful. Boxes were being stacked, tagged, moved. He paused near the loading bay, where Felix was giving instructions to a younger employee unloading dishwashers. Put those on the left pallet. The serials match the updated delivery sheet. Don't stack anything over shoulder height. We've had tip issues near the west wall. Kellan didn't interrupt. He kept walking. Past the break room, he found the whiteboard that used to hold a half-erased weekly checklist. It was now organized by day and shift, with initials marking task completions. A second board next to it had a rotating schedule of responsibilities and a short section in red marker labeled Customer Wins. There were 6 names listed under it from the last 10 days. He stepped out onto the sales floor. Paige spotted him from the appliance aisle. She walked over calmly, clipboard in hand. She looked more relaxed or maybe just more focused. Her posture was different now. She didn't glance around before speaking like she used to. "You came back early," she said. "I wanted to see how well people adjusted without warning." She nodded. "You'll want to talk to Reese. He's in the front office doing payroll corrections. We missed a few hours on last week's import." "Did you catch it?" "Darren did. He's been cross-checking since we started using his template." Kellan narrowed his eyes slightly. "He built a template?" Paige tilted the clipboard toward him. "Custom tracker. Matches the register log against the digital punch times. Flags inconsistencies. He was using it for himself before. Now the whole team uses it. Smart. He's better with systems than we realized." She flipped a page and handed it to him. "You should also see this. The last 2 weeks' customer satisfaction reports. We're up 21%. 3 separate mentions by name. One from a woman who said she almost walked out before someone finally helped her." He scanned the report. "Who helped her?" "Naomi. She's been stepping in more." Paige lowered her voice slightly. "And Reese. He's trying. Still figuring out how to be visible without hovering. But he's putting in the hours." Kellan nodded once. "Has he earned back credibility?" She took a beat before answering. "Not fully, but people are noticing the effort. That counts. I'll speak with him." He walked the floor quietly, noting the small changes. The end caps were cleaner. The signage had been updated. Categories now had clear pricing breakdowns, and there were laminated sheets explaining warranty options in plain English. The scratch and dent section had been reorganized with actual spacing between units, instead of the usual clutter. At the service desk, Amanda was calmly helping a couple with a refund. Her tone was steady, and the woman across from her looked relieved. "I can get this processed today," Amanda said. "But if it was an online transaction, we'll have to wait for the bank to release the hold. That usually takes 3 to 5 business days. I'll print you the confirmation now." The woman thanked her. Her partner leaned over and said something, and Amanda responded with a quiet laugh before handing them both a copy of the receipt. As soon as they left, Kellan stepped up. "You're handling the desk alone?" "Naomi was here earlier," Amanda replied. "She's doing interviews in back now. We had a few applicants come through this week." "What's the hiring plan?" 2 part-time floor staff. 1 long-term full-time. Paige built out the schedule based on priority coverage gaps. He looked at her closely. "You want to train the new hires?" Amanda blinked. "Me? You've got the tone. You don't just process, you explain. That's rare." She gave a small nod. "I'd be open to it. I'll make sure you're looped in." In the back hallway, Kellan found Reese hunched over a laminated sheet, cross-referencing timestamps. "You've been busy," Kellan said. Reese looked up, trying to keep up. "I notice things are changing. Processes. Communication. I've had help," Reese said plainly. "Paige has been holding me accountable without being condescending. Naomi's been watching the gaps. I stopped assuming things would fix themselves." Kellan raised an eyebrow. "And morale?" Reese leaned back against the desk. "Still rebuilding. Some people don't trust me yet. That's fair. I didn't give them a reason to before." Kellan crossed his arms. "You planning to stay long-term?" "If I'm allowed to earn it back." "Keep going." Kellan stepped out of the office just as a commotion near the front drew his attention. A man in his 20s, wearing a jacket with a local gym logo, was raising his voice near the TV display section. His tone was sharp, impatient. I've been waiting 15 minutes for someone to help. I'm not wandering around this dump another second. Another customer, a woman with a stroller, stood nearby, looking uncomfortable. A new employee, tall, nervous, maybe 2 weeks into the job, stepped forward and said something Kellan couldn't hear. "Don't talk to me if you don't have the authority to do anything," the man snapped. "I want a manager. Now." Paige appeared seconds later, stepping into the space between them. Her tone was calm, but there was a firmness behind it that hadn't been there before. "I'm the assistant store manager. What seems to be the issue? I've been standing here trying to figure out if this TV is in stock, and no one can answer a simple question. Which model?" He pointed. She walked to the inventory terminal, tapped a few keys, and returned. "We have 2 in stock. One on display, one in the back. Delivery is available by Friday if purchased today." The man looked at her for a moment, then nodded. "Fine, I'll take it." She walked him to the register, spoke briefly to Amanda, and returned to the display area. The new employee still looked shaken. Paige turned to him. "You did the right thing," she said. "You stepped in. That's what matters." He nodded slowly. Kellan watched the whole thing play out without stepping in. It didn't require him. Not anymore. He moved toward the back, stopping by Darren, who was helping a customer compare 2 microwave models. The customer looked confused, but Darren was walking him through the specs quietly, pointing out power levels and build materials without sounding rehearsed. When the customer nodded and walked off to grab a cart, Kellan approached. "You still keeping that spreadsheet?" Darren looked up. "Yeah, I'm actually working on a second one, trying to map common customer questions to product tags. If we can label items better on the shelf, we can cut down floor time. Send it to me when it's ready." "Really? Really?" As the sun dipped behind the lot outside, casting long shadows through the glass doors, Kellan stood near the front counter watching the team. No one saw him as a visitor anymore. He wasn't the mystery man with a hidden mic. He was just another person in the building, one who listened, but didn't hover. Before leaving, he found Paige near the small break table, sipping from a paper cup. "You've held the line well," he said. She gave a quick glance toward the floor. "They're doing most of the work now. I'm just keeping the pieces moving. That's what leadership is." She met his eyes. "You still planning surprise visits?" "Of course." She smiled faintly at that. Not out of fear, out of readiness. Kellan stepped outside. The evening air cooler now. The store wasn't perfect. It wouldn't be for a long time, but it had changed. And this time it wasn't because he demanded it. It was because someone inside finally had the authority and the trust to lead.